The Crimean hinterland is also not touched by Rus. So this is very important. We spend a whole lot of time trying to understand Rus. You understand how Rus is a kind of synthesis of Vikings coming from the north, Byzantium coming from the south, all of this. But Rus does not control territorially Crimea. Rus does not control territorially what's now southern Ukraine either. So just note, this whole thing about who does Rus belong to in this war has this kind of strange feature that the war is actually taking place, with the exception of a little bit around Kharkiv. It's generally taking place where Rus was not, as neither side is very keen to mention. Rus did not get this far south. It certainly did not get to Crimea. So Rus did not get to the Crimean Peninsula, but the Mongols did, okay? So in our world, in our class, in East European history, the Mongols are basically coming in and they're breaking things up, right? But from the Mongol point of view, that's not what they're doing. They're establishing trade routes, they're establishing states, and the Mongols don't care if you're Rus or you're not Rus. Their indifference to what other people are is quite extraordinary. What they're doing is establishing big states. The big state in the region was called the Golden Horde, which is a kind of unforgettable name. And then the history of post-Mongol statehood is the Golden Horde breaking up into smaller units. One of those units is Moscow, as we've discussed, right? The Moscow state is a post-Mongol state, a post-Mongol vassal state. Another one of these states is called the Crimean Khanate. So Khanate, K-H-A-N-A-T-E. It's called a Khanate because the ruler is called a Khan, K-H-A-N. So Muscovy is a post-Mongol state, as we've seen, in the sense that there were princes of Rus there who were able to maintain power by collecting the tribute for their Mongol overlords. And then eventually, after a couple of centuries, they break free, and then they break out spectacularly against other European cities, and then southward against Muslims, and then eastward all the way to the Pacific, in a kind of spectacular moment of expansion, which is not really our subject, but which is very important for our subject, because it explains how the Russian Empire is going to be able to dominate by the 18th century. The Crimean Khanate is a successor state in a different way. The Crimean Khanate is ruled by princes who are direct successors, direct descendants of Genghis Khan. The princely class in the Crimean Peninsula and the Crimean Khanate are direct successors by blood, at least so they claim, of Genghis Khan. They are ruling a people the people who were there before are Turkic speakers, mainly, I don't think I put this on the list, mainly from a group that we call the Kuman. And the people who come into being as the Crimean Tatars, who are still known as the Crimean Tatars, are a synthesis of the local Turkic speakers plus the Mongolian ruling classes who come in later.